Coming up this week, I'll be taking you inside the newest high-speed train in South Korea, the KTX Cheong-Ryong. This 320km/h domestically produced train has cutting-edge features and technology that provide a step change to the previous KTX models. I'll be showing you what I liked, what could be improved on, and more as we take this brand new high-speed train from the South Korean capital Seoul to the country's second largest city, Busan. Now join me as the journey continues. Most train services serving the South Korean capital, including ours today, depart from Seoul Station, located in the very heart of the city. Seoul Station itself first opened in 1900, with the original building still standing to this day. However, its modern incarnation opened in 1988, with a heavy refurbishment following in the early 2000s, ahead of the introduction of KTX high-speed services, which recently saw their 20th anniversary, but more on that a little later. One thing I have to give credit to Seoul Station for is its simple interior design. It's very easy to navigate. On both upper levels, you'll find plenty of shops and other amenities, with some being local and others being more familiar to Westerners. You'll also find lockers if you fancy exploring the city and want to securely store luggage whilst doing so, as well as ticket offices and machines for state operator Korail, who operate all mainline services here, making Seoul Station well equipped for handling the over 100,000 passengers who use the station daily, but not just for mainline traffic. Many passengers here will also be using the extensive Seoul Metro and AREX services to Incheon Airport. One thing I love about the South Korean railways is the train type is shown on the departure screens. Case in point our train, the 0858 KTX Cheong-Ryong to Busan. Now you may notice two trains with the same time and destination, but I'll explain shortly. And whilst the platform isn't shown yet, we can use this as an opportunity to look around and check out more of the trains here. Access to the platforms is again very straightforward, however I'm not a fan of the one-way system in place here, which is indicated by the arrows. One thing I love about this and other stations in South Korea is that there are no ticket barriers present, which gives you more time to appreciate the rather intriguing designs, such as these examples here. But more importantly, you can also head down onto the platforms and admire the diverse selection of trains operated by state operator Korail, who will be travelling with today on their high-speed premium KTX service, and the KTX's patiently awaiting departure should remind you of something. Yep, that's correct, the French TGV. The original KTX was built by Alstom and later Rotem through a technology transfer arrangement in the late 90s and early 2000s, based on the French TGV Réseau, and marked the beginning of high-speed rail in South Korea. In the 2010s, Hyundai Rotem then introduced the domestically made KTX Sancheon, which used the transferred French TGV technology as a basis. KTX trains link Seoul to numerous destinations across the country, ranging from Busan to Mokpo, and have been doing so since April 2004. However, on the 20th anniversary of the KTX in April 2024, Korail and Hyundai Rotem formally unveiled the latest generation of KTX, which is arriving into the platform now from Hangshin Station in the city's north, the KTX Cheong-Ryong. Two of these 8-car, 320km/h high-speed EMUs entered service with Korail in May 2024, a delay from the intended start date of December 2023, for use on services from Seoul to Busan and Gwangju, with both working some Seoul to Busan services as a pair on weekends. As you can see, this train departs completely from the TGV base design used on the previous generations of KTX trains, which now contains distributed traction across 6 of its 8 carriages rather than 2 power cars. The base design of the trains is the same as the KTX Yum train sets, which operate on KTX services to Andong, Donghai and Gangneung. However, these are only 6 carriages long and have a lower top speed of 260km/h, with both trains being developed based on the successful HEMU 430X prototype produced by Hyundai Rotem in 2012, which achieved an impressive 421km/h during its testing. A total of 25 Cheong-Ryongs will be produced for KTX use by 2027, with 19 also on order for South Korea's open access operator SRT, or Super Rapid Train, which funnily enough is also partially owned by Korail, but I'll have more to say on this in a future video. It's now time to head to platform 5, where our brand new KTX Cheong-Ryong train is waiting for us. To the right as we descend to the platform is Korail's new ITX Mulm EMU, introduced in 2023 for conventional line express services, which again will be coming to the channel in due course. The name Cheong-Ryong translates to Blue Dragon in English, and was chosen in a national competition after the Year of the Blue Dragon in South Korea, with the stunning deep blue and gold livery highlighting this well. What do you think of it? As mentioned earlier, our service to Busan has two 8-car sets coupled together, giving a total of 16 carriages. In South Korea, coupled services are actually formed of 2 train numbers. Yes, even when serving the same destination. The rear unit is train 9017 with coaches 1 to 8, and the front unit, train 017, is coaches 9 to 16, where I'll be sitting today. Level boarding is available at certain stations using the retractable stairs here, which is designed to cope with the various platform heights across the South Korean rail network. Okay, let's get on board. For today's ride to Busan, I'm in first class, which on the Cheong-Ryong is instead called superior class, which is the same as on the KTX Cheong-Ryong, albeit with a different interior colour scheme. This is in a 2x2 configuration with airline seats only, and this is a downgrade to the previous generation of KTX, which features a 2x1 seating layout. Each seat is also able to be rotated, meaning all passengers will sit facing the direction of travel, with windows also being perfectly aligned, as on the Japanese Shinkansen, which is great. As you can see, it's incredibly busy today, and someone was even sat in my reserved seat, which did surprise me as I always thought that seat reservations were respected in South Korea. Today's route will see us exit Seoul before traversing the entirety of the Gyeongbu high-speed line, with only 2 intermediate stops of Daejeon and Dongdaegu, which will result in a total journey time of 2 hours and 17 minutes to cover the 354km distance to Busan, with an expected arrival of 11:15. Not bad! Our departure from Seoul is bang on time at 08:58 Korean Standard Time. Straight off the blocks, we spend the first 15 to 20 minutes of our journey navigating out of the Seoul metropolitan area, passing the major station of Yongsan whilst doing so, which serves the Yongsan district of Seoul just north of the Han River. Most Korail services, including KTX services, either stop or terminate here, which eases congestion from Seoul's main station following the KTX opening in 2004. And speaking of the Han River, we cross it now over the Hangang Railway Bridge as we continue to make our way out of Seoul's urban sprawl. The first bridge was opened in 1900, with the second bridge opened in 1917 to cope with traffic on the conventional Gyeongbu line following its opening in 1905. I personally recommend sitting on the right hand side towards Busan if you can for better views, though you still won't be disappointed sitting on the left. We're now beginning to enter the Gyeongbu high speed line, which we do just before passing the first station on the line, Gyeongbu. Most KTX services serving all destinations stop here and provide links to the Seoul Metro's Line 1, with ours being an exception as a fast limited stop service to Busan. As we begin to pick up speed and enjoy the rather limited scenery available, let's divert our attention to the train's interior. One thing I was really impressed with was the seat, which has brilliant ergonomics and padding, making it suitable for the services the Cheong-Ryong will operate. It also features an adjustable headrest. Both sides have foldable armrests, with the side closest to the aisle containing controls for the onboard entertainment, a bit more on this shortly, as well as the automatic recline as is present with previous KTX generations. This supports the generous legroom on board the trains, though I'm still not a huge fan of the footrest, even though it automatically retracts upwards. Pull-up tray tables are located behind the seat in front, with a storage pocket below containing KTX magazines, highlighting information such as safety instructions and onboard facilities. There are also 2 sets of USB-A, USB-C and 220V power sockets available, and I was very pleased to finally see USB-C. though I opted to use the wireless charging point just in front, which was my favourite feature of all on board. Each seat in first class features an onboard entertainment screen, which you can use to browse the internet and even specifically watch your favourite content on YouTube. I've heard this channel's pretty good, so why not drop a subscription and check out some of the videos on offer? Here's one of my favourites. A retractable coat hook can be found just next to the window, with a personal reading light found just above. Overhead luggage storage can be found just above this, with space for larger items being found just next to the vestibules. And finally, there's a drawdown blind to reduce the effects of the sunlight, and thanks to the Shinkansen style design, there's no fighting with other passengers to adjust these during the journey, as often happened to me in South Korea. 2x2 seating aside, the interior is fantastic. Modern, comfortable and pleasant. Definitely an enjoyable way to travel. The Gyeongbu high-speed line was South Korea's first. The initial sections of the line between Seoul and Daejeon and Daegu opened when KTX services began in April 2004, and is principally based on the high-speed systems used in France as part of the technology transfer agreement. There are a total of 6 stations on the line, including Gyeongbu, which we passed earlier, and Cheonan Asan, which we're passing now, located primarily in the city of Asan and even has links to the conventional line Asan Station just below. We do so reaching close to 300 km per hour, just shy of the line's top service speed of 305 km per hour. Despite the Cheong-Ryong having a top service speed of 320 km per hour, this will not be achieved until track upgrade works are completed on the section to Osong in 2028. Osong is the next station we pass and the final one on the first section to Daejeon. Keep an eye out for the HEMU 430X prototype that's stored in the maintenance facility just before here, and the split to the newer Honam line just to the right, which serves destinations in the west of the country such as Iksan and Mokpo. We now exit the Gyeongbu high-speed line temporarily to call it our first stop of today, Daejeon. This is South Korea's 5th largest city with a population of over 1.9 million and is also the country's research and technology hub, being home to a surprising 23 universities and colleges. The Gyeongbu high-speed line was built taking into account South Korea's mountainous geography, so one minute you're seeing brilliant scenery and others soundproof barriers and tunnels. Let's use the opportunity now to look around the rest of the train. As with the previous generation KTX trains, there are seat maps in the vestibules showing the layout of the train, including all onboard facilities, as well as reminding us where we are now. Oh, and just below are tip-up seats. Korail sells these seats to those who don't have seat reservations when the train is fully booked. It's not pleasant, but at least you can still take the train where you need to go. That brings us on to standard class, which like the KTX Sancheon makes up 7 of the 8 carriages on board, and is in a 2x2 configuration like in first. I ended up trying one of the seats, and minus the single power socket, lack of headrests and no on-train entertainment, there was a very small difference in legroom and overall comfort. For an overall second class product, it's actually really good, but I'm not really sure whether to be impressed or slightly annoyed given the minimal differences to first, but a bit more on that later. At the end of the second class coach is an accessible toilet for those with reduced mobility and features both automatic and manual locks inside. Excluding the water on the floor, this was impeccably clean overall despite being really busy, though given this train is used at most 4 trips a day, this is to be expected. You'll also find amenities such as baby changing facilities, coat hooks and an electrical shaver socket. Unlike the accessible toilet, standard toilets on board throughout the rest of the train are gendered just like on other KTX trains. The third carriage, or carriage 11 in our case, is where you'll find the wheelchair accessible area, with very generous spaces for wheelchair users and those with reduced mobility, though it seems most people were using these to store overflowed luggage. This also includes a wheelchair storage area in the vestibules. There is no catering on board, including no first class service on the Cheong-Ryong, but there are vending machines present throughout the train which take both cash and card payments. There are a range of snacks and drinks available, and for a train it's fairly priced. I ended up getting some water as it was around 35 degrees the day of this recording and it was rather unbearable at times. There's also a train manager's office on board if you need to contact them for information or in an emergency, as well as a fridge, which I believe is for their lunch, though someone will have to let me know in the comments below. We once again prepare to exit the high-speed line, which means we're on the approach to Dongdaegu, or East Daegu Station, the main station serving Daegu, South Korea's 4th largest city and 3rd largest metropolitan area. From here, we only have around 40 minutes of travel time before we arrive into Busan, with the journey being non-stop. The closer we get to Busan, the more mountainous the terrain becomes, meaning there's an ongoing cycle of scenery, tunnels, scenery, and so on. The onboard Wi-Fi and internet access on the entertainment screens also failed to work in the tunnels despite my phone having full 5G, and South Korea having one of the fastest bandwidth speeds around. We do, however, also pass the remaining stations on the Gyeongbu high-speed line as well, Gyeongbu Station being one of them. As we prepare to reach the end of the high-speed line and enter the final series of tunnels into Busan, I'll take a moment to summarise the journey. Overall, I really enjoyed my journey on the KTX Cheong-Ryong. It's a fantastic train, and whilst the lack of 2x1 seating was disappointing, I still think it's a solid design overall and a great addition to the KTX family, and I'm looking forward to the expanded rollout by Korail as well as introduction with SRT in 2027. The price of today's ticket was 71,800 Korean won, or around £40, which given the journey length and limited stopping patterns is brilliant value for a first class ticket, despite not including the same services offered on other KTX train types. Standard class on this train would have cost 59,800 Korean won, or around £34, which is only a marginal difference to first class, so I guess the lack of differences can be justified somewhat. Whilst we did manage to avoid zombies on the train, there was slightly slower running after Dongdaegu, which resulted in a delay of 7 minutes arriving into Busan. Now you've heard from me, I want to hear from you. Have you had a chance to try the KTX Cheong-Ryong yet? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and share it if you did to aid the channel's growth, as well as subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. This was actually the first leg of my journey from Seoul to Tokyo by train and ferry, which will be the subject of a future video. For now though, I'm going to grab some lunch ahead of my overnight ferry to Japan. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.